Guys, my name is Matumba. I'm just going to display what I did for the project. And before I look at the, the details of the project, there are just some questions here that I have just go through. Like they said that we explain the server role and the system design by describing the type of server I'm deploying. So I'm deploying a file server, and this file server's purpose is to store large files, including database that's containing information about the employees in promisedland.com. And then how the server really fits the promised land IT structure. I'm seeing a number of departments here in promised land, and I made sure that to manage these departments, I need a common server that's going to authenticate those workers both on-premise and remotely. And then you're asking about the disk or system, or the disk partitions in my whatever. So I chose two file systems here. That is the XFS and the EXT4. And then there's some reasons as why I chose this kind of file system. The XFS system is made to handle extremely large file systems up to around 8 exabyte, and very large individual files up to 8 exabyte as well. And this one makes it so much ideal for what I'm designing, because I'm interested in large database servers. And then it's so much important during optimization of heavy workloads. So we're seeing that its internal architecture is generally towards maximizing the throughput and minimizing latency under heavy loads, because these people are going to be querying this server, and also they're having large databases which is have this heavy workload. So XFS file system, I chose it for that reason. And then if it comes to recovering, more so when we have some kind of challenges, like there has been a file that has been corrupted, it becomes very easy for recovery when you look at the XFS system. And it has some kind of journaling which protects the file system from corruption as well. Then I also looked at the EXT4 system, which I use because it's very nice for balanced performance. It offers a really good balance of performance for a wide range of workloads, for heavy desktop usage to small and medium sized servers. Two, it is tested and it has been on history that this file system is incredibly stable and reliable. Apart from that, the disk file system, that is the ext4, is very flexible and can be easily resized, that is grown or shrunk, well mounted, and is even in use. This provides its excellent flexibility for managing disk space without downtime, which is a major advantage over the XFS file system. Then how am I managing my workers or my employees there? And these ones, I've made sure that I create accounts for them. First adding the users to the server, and then later I made sure that I put them into groups. It's really very nice to manage and easy to manage members in a group other than an individual. And when I query my server by typing sudo cat /etc/gshadow, is going to display my teams here that I have around four to minimally four, but I created some sub teams up there as well. The ones which I have down here, you have the operation teams, have the application teams, have the infrastructure teams, have the CRM teams. So you see, the application team has got its members, that's Richard Durante, Bill Fratton, and many others. And the application team has also got Brian Lacour, Shajib, Ghosh, Andrea, and so on. The infrastructure team has also got its members, Joseph Oboski, Mike, and so on. But what is so much important here is that I made sure that these teams, I set their own passwords, such that you see the hash combinations here, meaning that these passwords have been set. And once they are set, this one is really crucial when it comes to authentication. And any member of the group may not need really to authenticate because it's part of the group, and you will just access the resources. But a member who is not part will have to have the password in order to have access to those files. Then I also made sure that I create directories, and these directories are belonging to each team. And these directories, yes, so I have them here. So I have my application directories, CRM, finance, infrastructure, I have operations, and so on and so on. I made sure that I changed the ownerships for each directory. So like the application directory here, the owner is Brian Lagol, and then the CRM, the owner is called, the finance is Linda, Joseph is for infrastructure, Richard is for operations, such that I can easily monitor these directories, and within the directories I created sensitive files. So if I type change and then I come to application here, my directory has two application, and when I check to see what I really have there are files, that is application.txt, and then when I check to see who is the owner is Brian Lacole, and then the team is application team. And when I check on the permissions, I'm going to type sudo get Lacole application.txt. I see that the owner is Brian Lagol, and then we are having the group, that's application team. But when I come to the permissions here, Brian Lagol is given the read, write, and execute permissions because he is the manager. But the group is given only the read and write permissions. However, we have the CIO who is given only the read permissions because it's on the top. So when I go back and change to another directory, let's say maybe I change to CRM. Then I'm now in the CRM directory, so I'm going to view what is there. And then I have the CRM.txt. And then when I change for the permissions there, so it'll get Fargo on CRM.txt. then I'm going to have this. So the owner is Kale, then shoemaker is given the read permissions as required by the question, and then the group is the CRM team, which is given the read and write permission only, but the manager is given the read, write, and execute permissions. And when we go back to operations, I'm changing to operations. Directory. So when I happen to view what's there, there is operations.txt. And when I check for the permissions, I'll use sudo git facom operations.txt. And then I happen to have the chat iterant with the owner given the read-write permissions, whereas the group members are given the read-write permissions only, whereas the others given read-write and execute permissions. But shoemaker is given the read-only permissions. And finally, when I come to finance, we change the directory back. Then I come to finance. Finance directory. Now, when I view what is really there, so I'll find that it's finance.txt. And then when I check for the permissions, then I'm going to use sudo git facom finance.txt. Then the finance manager here is Linda, and it's only one person. And this group is the director of finance, and he has a read, write, and the execute permissions. Whereas others also have the same because it's only one person. But shoemaker has only read permissions. Then going back to my D6, I use LSBOK. I have XVDD that has been mounted on MTCRM infrastructure as the mount point, the operations mount point, and then I have VDE that has been also mounted on finance. And when I check the file system here, the XVDD is an EXT for file system, but this one is an XF file system. These ones are their mounting points. Then we're asked about, so we're asked why Kari Shoemaker should have read-only permissions. This is just because he is the CIO, whose work is just only to monitor, nothing to change on the documents. So it could just be there for monitoring all the documents. And then how to make my system secure and safe free from hackers. I just make always the software updates, and I use strong passwords, and I use the SSH key pairs, enabling firewalls, and regularly monitoring the logs. And then how to configure the firewalls. So these firewalls are just there to limit the unnecessary logging into the server. And because I'm just using Debian-based kind of system, I'm going to use the UFW, which is the uncomplicated firewall, using the sudo apt install UFW, and then later I use the sudo UFW enable, and then finally I use the UFW allow SSH, and then I specify the port number if necessary. Then the sudo command is very much important here because it's the only one that can grant us privileges to our server. And in real sense, it's very risky to log in as a root user because it will be making our system vulnerable to hackers. So it's better we log in as regular users, and finally we seek for privileges by using the sudo command. The system updates are so much important here, not only for performance, but for stability of our server. And it helps us to shield our server from potential vulnerabilities. Now, when it comes to my system here, I'm going to use sudo UFW status and see. So I've already configured it and it's very active and has ports here. This port 22 is for SSH. However, the other ports like 4021, that's a higher port. And sometimes I may decide to block 22 because it's a lower port, which can be easily listened to by the hackers. But this port 4021 is a little bit higher port, which is easy to listen to or to scan by the hackers. Thank you so much.